Welcome back to my channel. I am Candace with a K, and I was recently asked to provide an update on a video that I posted nearly 4 years ago of expressing interest in a Black Greek letter organization. I hope that you find this video useful. Keep in mind that these are just some tips and some advice that I will provide that has nothing to do with any particular organization in particular, and it is really just things that I have done and learned from my experience. So if you are interested, please keep watching. So in that previous video, which I will have linked down below because I feel like I gave y'all a lot. I gave y'all so many gems. I think it really lays the foundation that is still applicable today. But in a post-pandemic society, there is more accessibility, I would say. So many organizations hold multiple virtual events nowadays that you should be able to attend. It still remains that you want to make sure that your face is seen, that your name is recognizable and remembered, and that you are being and providing service. That is the foundation of it all. Almost every social organization, whether it be a Black Greek lettered organization or any other type of organization like the Links, Jack and Jill, any of those, they are very service based. So you want to definitely be of service and provide service. One thing that you should definitely be using to your advantage, which I still believe will hold true, and my suggestion is to use social media. Social media is booming right now. I look at some of my sororities chapters who are very active on many platforms. It is a great way to engage with the chapter of your choice or the organization as a whole. It is a way to see what they are doing. It is a way for you to acknowledge and determine whether that organization and or chapter is a good fit for you. Use social media to your advantage, okay? It is free, it is accessible, and so you should be able to use it. One of the top questions that I receive often is how to exhibit discretion, and that is a very tricky thing because you always see people who are loud at the mouth and they proclaim that I want to be a part of X organization. When I was younger, I always dreamed of X sorority, X whatever. Don't do that. It really comes down to finding a confidant in the organization. Hopefully, the person that you confide in is a financial active member of said organization so that if and when the time comes, they will be able to tell you about joining said organization. Keep in mind, all of these organizations, many of these organizations rather, are invitation only. Therefore, you can't just walk up and sign up and join. Therefore, you can't just say I'm going to and it will be. You have to confide and connect with members of said organization in order to be aware of when these membership intakes happen. And that is why I suggest attending the events, being visible, being a recognizable name, and connecting with members so that you know when that time comes. That is the formula. There aren't many updates to give besides the accessibility has increased, in my opinion. And so use your resources. On the video that I posted nearly 4 years ago, there are a lot of questions in the comment section, which I can provide additional clarity and answers to. And so I will be doing that here. One of those questions is, does the graduate GPA replace undergrad? Many of these organizations, for undergraduates, there is a GPA minimum, which typically is 2.5, 2.75, somewhere around there, right? Once you attempt to pursue membership at the graduate level, I will say that it doesn't replace your GPA, But because you've already completed your undergraduate degree and maybe you have decided to go on to grad school, it's looked at more cumulatively and as a whole, like your whole portfolio, so to speak. So I wouldn't say it replaces, but I wouldn't be worried, is what I would say. That might not be the case by the chapter. That might not be the case by the organization. And it may be the case if you end up having a poor graduate GPA. In many graduate programs, you can't get less than a C anyway. So your graduate GPA should be higher anyway. So I wouldn't worry about that so much. One question that was also asked was, how do you engage graduate chapters that do not have events to get to know others? And so this was very particular to the pandemic, where they mentioned all virtual meetings, guests are muted, and public events are once in a year. I will say that is very tricky, because when you are on these virtual events, it is harder to be vocal, it's harder to socialize, it's harder to connect. However, if you are active participant in these social events, that is another way. So if I were to do this again during this time of a pandemic, or even the post-pandemic of the increase in virtual events, make sure you always have a question. So it could be like, oh, I see Candace has a question. Already name recognition. Most of these events have a chat going. Maybe adding your 2 cents without being like the person who's over chatty or over utilizing some of these functions, but like, oh, Candace put in the chat, I also agree with that, X, Y, and Z. Or, it's being like, I will liken it to being back into online classes. If you've ever taken an online class and you had to comment on 2 people's posts, speak up, say something to show engagement. That's what I would do. So that is my suggestion. My question is, it is appropriate to send an email about chapter of interest to your chapter of interest? I would say yes. And that is something that I did simply because it allowed me access to get on said chapter's mailing address, like mailing list. So then I was able to know about events that were open to the public. Now, all chapters don't have a mailing list, but at least in showcasing my interest, it happened that way. Now, I won't say that I blatantly said I am interested in said membership. My way connecting was, I enjoy seeing the things that you are doing for the community. I would love to be a part of that. Please make me aware of events happening. Of course, you fluff the language a little bit, but that is the general message. And that is a way to get across to where you are showcasing that you want to be of service, but you also want to be a part of organization without saying it. So that's also a discretion piece for you. It's all about the language and the verbiage. So when it comes to showing discretion, it's just, reword some things so it doesn't sound like you're jumping in too hot, except for you're just jumping in a little lukewarm. Another question was, do you find different chapters and events to see which chapters fit you? When it comes to chapter fit, I think that is one of the most important things about joining an organization, simply because you want to mesh with those people. You want to be connected to them. You want to feel welcomed. You want to feel appreciated, but you also want to feel like that is going to be your forever home. Not saying that is the case, but that is the feeling that you want. You want to feel like home. The only way to do so is by attending multiple chapter events. You don't want to look like a chapter hopper. So my suggestion is to keep that list very small and very short, but you want to make sure that it is a two-way working relationship. Yes, you want to be a part of said organization, but that organization also has to serve you in return. And at the local level, that comes through at your chapter. So make sure it is a good fit by attending the events. My recommendation is to don't worry about the social events, because social chemistry always comes later. It's about the service events. Because if said chapter is not doing or participating in events that you feel connected to, you know, it's like, I think the service is the most important part of it all. You want to be of service to your community, your local community specifically. Make sure that you feel connected to the service that that chapter is providing. Because social events, they're going to be fun. There might be liquor flowing. There might be music. You know, if you are a good time, you're going to have a good time anywhere. But think about the service. So one question also was, how does a Black Greek letter organization improve one's life? And I have to say that is a very big question to ask, but I think it is also important when pursuing membership. And as I said in the previous video, you really have to understand your why. I will be 5 years in this December, and although that is such a short amount of time in the grand scheme of things, within these 5 years, I have developed some of my best friends. I have traveled and got to connect with so many women. When they say sisterhood is real, it is real. You really don't realize how compassionate people can be in such a short amount of time. These women didn't know me 5 years ago, but if I were to call them today, they would drop everything and look out for me. So it's actually kind of crazy how you can think of that, especially someone that is like an only child who doesn't have the sisterhood aspect. It has really been warm and enlightening. And then not to mention fun. Like, one thing about many women in this organization, they work hard, but they play even harder. And so I think when you are really sitting down and trying to decide how you want this experience to be for yourself, really get to the bottom of your why and your reasoning. I tell people you get what you put into it. So the more you pour into it, the more you will get back. And I think that holds true. There is so many facets and nuances to many of these organizations that it's hard to capture in just this short amount of time as I present you this information. So I always and have always been welcome to answer questions. Women have DM'd me, women have messaged me, they've left comments in the videos that I've tried to answer. I say the same thing now. If you at all need any additional questions asked, please don't hesitate to reach out. I am an open book for the most part. Some of that is not your business, but for the most part, I am an open book, so I am willing to help. All you have to do is reach out and I will try to be of service myself. And if there are any other questions, you can leave them down in the comments. And if you don't want to have a public facing comment, you can always message me. So I am Candace with the K. I want to thank you all for watching. And since you're here, make sure you hit that subscribe button. Peace.